opponents. And in the early German longsword fencing, you have the zufechten, the different approach, the different stages of the fight. The zufechten, which is, if I'm fencing Christian, the distance where I can strike him if I make one passing step. That's zufechten, that's right here. Then we have krieg, which is the distance in the bind, where we work with different windings and so on. Then we have Zwerch, which is grappling distance. And then we have grappling on the ground. Meyer has a slightly different way of describing it. He talks about the onset, which is the same, where you need one step to hit the opponent. And then he talks about the middle, which is again sort of like krieg, where you execute all the different devices and techniques. And then he has the withdrawal, or abzug, where you move out again. So he also includes some grappling, but he doesn't talk about it the same way. Instead, he adds the moving out part after the technique has been performed. Either you have hit him, or you decided that it's not going to work, and you pull out and try something new. It's called abzug, and that's something that we use a lot when we devise rule sets for modern tournaments. We have the afterblow system, which means that if you get hit, your opponent has one strike to hit you back, and then you don't get points, so he can also score. And the withdrawal part is to make sure that you cover on your way out. And that's a fantastic thing to do, because either you do competitive fencing, and then he has the opportunity to strike you, and a lot of what you see in Joachim Meyers is from zufechten or recreational fencing. But it also has a lot of value in life and death, because if you hit him, there's no guarantee he's just going to fall down and die. Usually people live longer, and he will be able to hit you back. So you want to come in, execute the technique, and move out, and not just stay within distance where he has the opportunity to strike you back. Because a lot of what he does also is for military use or for street self-defense. So there's a slight difference. You have the onset, which is the zufechten, where you move in with strikes. You have the middle, where you work with different techniques on the bind. And then you have the withdrawal, where you step out. And all of the stucke contains all these elements. Okay, so the first one we're going to work with has a few different options. So we're going to go through all different options. I'm going to read it to you. This can actually take a while. Bear with me. In the onset, that's where you approach the fight, where you have one step to reach him. Come into the right change. The right change or wechsel is this position right there, where your sword is down to your side now with the short edge facing your opponent. This is the change. It's one of the Meyer's laws. Take heed as soon as he pulls up his sword for a stroke, and quickly slash through upward before him. And cut in with a zwerch from your right at the same time as him. In the cut, step well to his left side. If you send his cut straight to your head, then you will hit him with the zwerch on his left ear. But if you see that he does not cut straight to your head, but turns his cut with the long edge against your zwerch to parry, then before he touches, cut quickly with the long zwerch at his right ear. Step at the same time with your left foot well around to his right. Now you have laid on to him with two zwerch. Cuts to both sides, opposite each other. This you take from the first section in the treatise. After this onset, if you wish to proceed further to the middle work, then the second section helps you in this way. If he strikes around from your sword to the other side, then chase him with a slice on his arm, push him from you with the forte of your blade over the shield with a jerk. While he is still faltering from the push and has not yet recovered, go rapidly up with crossed arms and strike with the short edge over his right arm at his head. And this is, as I have said, before he recovers from the push. Now, if he should recover and slip upward to parry, then let your sword fly back away and deliver a zwerch to his left ear with a backstep on your left foot. Or, if he does not go away with a strike around, but remains with a slice of long edge, then reverse your sword so that your short edge comes on his, wrench his sword to your right side and let your weapon snap around in the air, so that your hands come back together crosswise up over your head and strike with the short edge at his head as before he recovers from the wrenching. Afterwards, step back with your left foot and deliver a horizontal middle cut with the long edge from your right at his neck, and as soon as it clashes, draw away to his right with high strokes. Okay? They're really, really long. I mean, if you compare this to Sigmund Ringen, he says, when he strikes in from the right, strike at him first in the face. But these are not, you're not supposed, as I said, you're not supposed to do all this every time he comes into a high on target. It's supposed to teach you all the different phases of the fight. And he gives different variations of it so that you learn how to immediately respond with a new idea or a action depending on what your opponent does to you. And another really beautiful thing about this is that they teaches you distance, and that's one of the most difficult things to master. It's, if you perform an excellent technique, but you're half a meter too far away when you strike in the air, it's completely pointless. But through these long exchanges, you learn how to make all these sort of attacks, being strong or weak on the blade, threatening him with just a tip or striking in hard, long in on his blade, because you're going to be close to your opponent for so long. And that's actually a really, really valuable skill to have. If anyone of you has done Filipino martial arts, or this is also pretty common in HEMA now, they have flow drills basically where you just keep on fighting from back and forth, like hanger, cut, parry, cut, parry, cut, parry, cut, to get a lot of repetition and to make sure that your blade doesn't shut up. This is basically the same thing. It's not a flow drill, but it's a really, really, really long exchange. Joachim Meyers has a poetic way of describing it. He says that when you learn how to read and write, you need, before you can understand all the words, you must learn each letter at a time. And then you can put all the different letters into one word, but you will never use every letter for every word. And it's the same way with this long stucke, you learn individual parts of it, and then you apply it and reapply it as it's needed. Okay, but we will try to start, and we'll go through it slowly. The first technique looks like this, with Christian. I'll put it over there. This is pretty interesting. It says, stand in the right change and take heed as soon as he pulls up his sword for a stroke and quickly slash through upward before him. So what it means is I'm waiting in the low guard like this, in the low change, and I see that Christian raises his blade up in high bomb tag because he wants to strike it. So basically Christian tries to take initiative, but as soon as I see that he does it, I retake initiative by launching a threat towards his face that he has to react to, like that. So Christian pulls up his sword for a stroke. I immediately answer by just lifting up the point of his face, and then I turn this into a zwerch. Everyone knows what a zwerch is? Sort of, if you don't, I'll show you. It's the shortest horizontal cut with the thumb on the blade. I turn it around and I strike into his face or to his elbow, like that. So first sequence looks like this. Up and in. So what I'm learning here is to exploit the opening that Christian provides when he moves in. And he's probably, either he's just come from something else or he moves up because he wants me to react. So it might be a trap. But he takes initiative and I regain it by threatening him. Up and then in with the cut, face or elbow, just like that. Now when I do that, it's important that my cross guard comes up relatively high. I can strike this low because Christian can reach over my blade and hit me in the head. Instead, I want my cross guard up high to protect my face. Up. So if Christian would try to strike down, he would just go straight on the strong of my blade, and I would still land as well, and I would be safe. So first exercise, your friend lifts up into high tag. When that happens, slash up with a short edge, turn it into zwerch, and strike. And your friend will strike down to your head from there to test this, make sure that you actually have it on the strong of your blade without getting hit in the head. Okay, that's it. Let's try it out. 5 times each, back and forth. The strike that he wants to do, like a diagonal overhand, then you will have, if everything comes together, you make a zwerch against his incoming overhand. It's the absolute proper response throughout the German resources. He will strike your hilt or your cross guard or your stronger blade where he can't touch you. You will hit it with your short edge. Perfect. But if he sees that you come in the zwerch, then he will instead go to parry, because it's a bit of a paradox. But against an incoming overhand with a long edge, you're supposed to do a zwerch in German longsword. And against a zwerch, you're supposed to do an overhand with a long edge. So they both cancel out each other. So again, the same device. Christian lifts up, and when he does that, I come in with the slice first, and then I make a zwerch. But this time Christian sees that, and instead of trying to strike into my head, which I will then have a big counter for, he will strike down on my blade in order to parry, but also in order to get a strong bite, because he could work from there if he wanted to. So one more time, up, and now he's on my blade, not to my face, but on my blade like this. Because from this position, he is now safe, and if I do nothing, he can wind in do things from there because he's stronger than me. He's playing this on my land, and if I try to push out, I can't. He's stronger. Like that. Okay, so now when that happens, I immediately, as soon as the blades connect, I land and swell to the other side. Up, I see the track on this side, so I make a swell over to the other side instead. And that's the continuation. So, one more time. Lift up. So, in the first swell, I step up with the right foot, and then when he parries that, he strikes down right, I step up with my left foot instead. Left foot, like so. And I keep my blade high.
Do you do the second swell before the sword?
No, well it's absolutely possible actually. If you see that he goes down and strikes the blade, you can actually let it run out before you correct. The important thing is that you get a big reaction from him. Because if you stop too early, he will realize that, and it's going to be easy to prepare the next one as well. But if you have time, then sure, move on before he manages to parry.
What does Meyer say?
What
does Meyer say?
Mine actually says before it touches sections, you're right. Cut quickly with the long sword as well. So if it's possible, try to cut before. Okay. So again, the next part of the exercise, same start before. He lifts up, in, you take initiative, recover, swing up. So like that. And now you as the partner, instead of trying to cut into his face, when you see that he makes it swing up, you cut down on his blade in order to. But your impulse is to stay safe and also get a good bind so you can come. Okay, let's try that. Now we're going to turn this part into a multiple choice exercise. Because one of the things that often happens when you start practicing these logger techniques is that you get very eager to get to the finishing attack and you tend to skip the initiating motions and you start making them less and less convincing. That's a problem because if I make the first slice or the first swell too weak, Christian would not really buy into it. He would see that it was a bad feint and just wait for him, and he would not try to go to parry. So this time, Christian, who is my coach, he will decide. Either he will strike into my head, in which case I will have to make a proper swell to protect my head and hit him, or he will go and try to strike down my swell, in which case I will strike around to the other side. And that means that I have to actually really try to hit him with the first strike. Otherwise, you do not take the last one.
No, man?
Now we can do it. So it starts as before, he lifts up, I slice. But now I have no idea if he's going to strike into my head or if he's going to try to go for my parry. So I have to make it proper. Because if I don't, if I just make this small then he can push in against me. So at sometimes he strikes on my blade. Oh, and when I see that, I go for the next time. But if he tries to go straight for my head, then I have to maintain and he's strong and push and land this strike instead. So it's all up to him now, whichever one he wants to do. He can also give me feedback at all times. He thinks that if I hesitate anyway for making weak cuts or something, he can let me know so that I get good training for it. Now it's also nice training for him because it's also very easy when you do this exercise is that the one who is slightly passive, he stands and goes. Well, it's a waste of training time. Even when you're that person who makes the high cuts and the one who dies in the end, you still want to make an efficient training time. So you want to work on your own hands. You want to work on your parries, which is also valuable for you. Okay, any questions on this exercise? Your coach decides to do 5 times each back and forth. Either strike to his head or strike to his blade. Okay. Of the stucke, we make the assumption that your opponent goes to parry your first swell, so you strike around to the other side. And then this is what happens. You strike around to the other side and he parries that. If he strikes right from your sword to the other side, then chase him with a slice on his arm. Push him from you with the fork of your blade or with your shield. That's this part that stands out a little bit. That's your shield. Push him away from you with a jerk. While he's still faltering from the push and has not yet recovered, go rapidly up with cross arms and strike with the short edge over his right arm and his head. So it means this. This time I will make this, the first round Christian tries to strike down my blade, so I strike around, and Christian parries that as well. So Christian goes up, I come in with slice, make this first round, he parries, make the other one, and he parries that as well. Now it says, if he wants to strike around on you from the other side of your blade, so Christian goes to the outside, like that, and hits me. Now, yeah, like that. When he does that, I do something that is pretty peculiar to Meyer. Because you see some sort of slicing on the arms in the early German longsword swords as well. It's called Händedrücken, to press the hands. And then it's often used as a way of actually slicing up the hands. It's pretty grim. But Joachim Meyers uses this as a way of controlling the opponent, where he puts the strong or the shield of his blade on the opponent's arms to push him around to create an opening. And it's looked like this. From the beginning. Up. I place my blade under him like that when he strikes. I push him away from me like that, and then I hit him over the head with crossed arms with the short edge, like that. So, one more time. You can exaggerate most of it when you strike around this to make it easier. 1, 2. You strike on the outside, you place your blade under his hand, shove him away, and then strike with the short edge on his head, like that. Now this can hurt a little bit, so be easy on each other when you do it. And your friend can follow along a little bit, but he doesn't get too much pain. The important thing is that instead of trying to push his blade around, you're actually pushing his arm around. And all I want is to create an opening to strike to his head. So, again, up, down, try to find outside, I face to the other, push him over to my right, like that. And I can push him pretty hard. If I want, I can even go in and push him away. And then up again with crossed arms and strike him with the short edge on the head. Like that. Okay, we're going to try that out. Let's do everything from the beginning and every time, so we get the whole. The slice on the arms is a bit difficult to perform, especially when you try to take the speed and intensity down a little bit. Because it is a pretty powerful motion. It can be hard to get to work if you do it slow, the other person is kind of only doing it halfway. So I'll just demonstrate it one more time, and then we'll move on to another option. So if I can borrow Christian, and you can be the throw-out. So I lift up my sword, Christian comes in, I parry one, I parry from this position. Now, once I have parried, if I really wanted to go for it now because we're doing it slow, it's pretty easy for me to just go like that, and that makes it hard for Christian to slice my hands. But I wouldn't do that in a real fight because he would just get me. If it was a real fight, I would make a big motion up and around, and in that moment he has time to strike. So my motion as the counter fighter here is bigger than what you normally do in practice. One more time. Lift up, parry, and now I would like to go around and hit it to get around his blade. In that situation, when I lift up, the Christian just follows in his blade and takes it down. So the slice, if you switch roles now. 1, 2. Now this is like that. My hands are already there, so what I do is move in with my hands, take him over, and hit him on the head. This is the position I'm in after the Zwerch. When he moves up to strike, I just push forward with this position, and then I take the arms down, and that's it. But we will move on with the other option. That is, if Christian chooses to remain on the blade and not strike around at all. And if that happens, Meyer says this. Or if he does not go away or strike around, but remains with the slice of long edge on him, on you that is, then reverse your sword so that your short edge come on his. Wrench his sword to your right side and let the weapon snap around in the air so that your hands come back together crosswise up on your head and strike with the short edge at his head as before he recovers from the wrench. And that means this. We start from the beginning. In change, Christian lifts up. Zwerch 1, Zwerch 2. But now he remains there because he wants to see what I do. Now Meyer says, place your short edge on his blade. Because now I've been doing the Zwerch with the long edge, of course, on the left side. Short edge on his blade, wrench his sword to your right side. And that means simply take it away. And then strike him with the short edge like that. Now, in the early German longsword texts that I think most of you are familiar with, have the winden, which from a bind, you wind in the thrust. The wrench, or outside, is sort of like a retard's wine. Because it's much easier to perform. It takes longer time, but you are much safer. Because instead of winding in, which can be hard to land first, you have to really use the blade first, and then you wind in to make sure that you can really do it. It's like biting. So, once again, from the beginning, lift up, Zwerch, now short edge on his blade, up, wrench to your right side, you can do this with some power, take it away, and then snap up, short edge on his head, like so. One more time, use it a little quicker. And let's try that one instead, it might be easier, so you don't have to do it. On this stucke, because you've actually gone through all of it now, except for one ratio, is that after you hit him, you immediately step away from him with another strike towards the head. Because you always want to do that when you move out. And it can be really any strike. He said it's supposed to be a left Zwerch as you step out, which is perfectly fine, but any sort of strike. Once you've landed the hit on his head or wherever it is, always make one more strike and step back, and that is to cover your exit, because once you hit him, he might come back. Okay, so now we're going to turn this into a multiple choice drill again, and there are two points at which your partner can make a choice. The first one, as you've already done, is when you slash up and come in with Zwerch, the first one, either he can strike at your head, at which point you should be safe and hit him on the head, and then make a cut and move out. We always said that. Or he parries, and then you move on with the rest. I'll show Christian briefly, so that you will remember. This is the first point of options for your coach. He lifts up, I come in, and either if he strikes him straight in the head, I have him, as I made a promise at the beginning, or if he strikes down, I move around. Now, if he makes that choice, he will go to parry this. And this is now his second choice. Either he tries to step out to the outside and strike around, and then I pursue with the slice and hit him, or he remains, at which point I wrench and hit him. And then I step out and I finish. But I don't walk into the guys behind me. That's it. So Christian, my coach, has two options now. Once again, first one, head or body. I will choose his head and I strike. And the blade, I strike around, he parries. Either he does nothing, I wrench, or he tries to step out, in which case I step in and I slice away, and I hit, and move out. And that's it. So depending on what my coach does, I respond with the proper answer. Either a Zwerch to the head, or another Zwerch in the first one, a slice or a wrench